put ourselves in the holy presence of our Lord. Our dearest Heavenly Father, thank you for making all things possible. We are grateful for all the blessings you are pouring upon each one of us, despite these challenges we are all currently facing. Thank you for blessing us today with a wonderful opportunity to meet virtually and learn together in awesome, exciting webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us, all through the sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speaker, facilitators, and moderators. May all of us learn together, upgrade our competencies, and capacitate us to be the help in the development of our learners' lives and communities. In the spirit of your love and generosity, may I humbly commit every part of this webinar to you as we all bring you the glory, honor, and praises for your kingdom and holy name's sake. All this we pray in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Hello world! Greetings from Silliman University, the campus by the sea. Mabuhay from the Dr. Mariano and Lina Lau Activity Center. The Silliman University and Dr. Lau Free Computer Education was established to provide free computer education to Silliman and the community. Specifically, this program aims to offer need-based computer skills training to Silliman employees, Silliman students, and retirees from the community. The first batch was launched in January 2019. It was conducted every weekend with 25 participants per category. The training is conducted every Saturday for 3 months. Due to COVID-19, the face-to-face training is temporarily discontinued, but COVID-19 did not stop us to continue our advocacy of providing free knowledge transfer in relation to computer. Last July to September, we organized free webinars on online distance teaching. The webinar provided skills training among teachers that is relevant in this time of pandemic. In this quarter, our webinar highlights on strategies, techniques, and tips for online learners, students. It is open to all, it is free, and it is delivered via Zoom. And of course, we are now live on Facebook. Today, we invited another expert to give to our students some tips and strategies to online distance learning. We at the Dr. Mariano Lau Innovation, Creation, and Invention Laboratory are excited to learn with you, dear students. We are with you in prayer that this global crisis will end the soonest. Thank you for joining us. God bless everyone.
Good morning. Dr. Dave Marshall, the staff, and everybody, welcome. I'm always happy to meet with all of you. Hopefully, we will meet each other again face to face next year. The online distance learning will be a great adventure for all of us through technology. I wish all of you will take advantage of this opportunity with our great teachers and be successful. Thank you and have a nice day. enjoy.
Good afternoon and welcome once again to Dr. Mariano Lau third webinar series on online distance learning. I am Oria Lisa Maipa, your moderator for this afternoon. So before we begin, let me remind everyone to please mute their microphone and please put your complete name on your profile so we can identify you and turn off your video camera. And if you have any questions with regards to the webinar, please type it in the chat box. Our webinar series for this afternoon focuses on the upskilling, the importance of upskilling in a skill-based economy. So let me introduce to you our speaker. He is currently the Education Channel Manager of Microsoft Philippines. He has a consistent track record of success in working in the information technology industry, having won several awards through the years and has worked with the leading technology partners and spanning from distributors, solution vendors, device brands, and the like. Prior to his stint in Microsoft, he worked for one of the largest FMCG conglomerate in the Philippines. He has a strong education background with a Master's of Business Administration from the Asian Institute of Management and a degree in finance from De La Salle University, Manila. Apart from his corporate job, Paolo is also the CEO of two business startups in the food and health supplement industry. He is also involved in philanthropic activities as he previously served as one of the board of directors of Junior Chamber International Manila, a nonprofit organization that focuses on leadership development and charitable activities. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Paolo Balinas.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. I'm very excited, to be a part of this webinar series, your third installment of your free webinar series. So, before I start, I have a few slides to present. Yan. So, for the moderators, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, go ahead please.
Alright, sige. So once again, maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. I'm very excited to be a part of this third webinar installment representing Microsoft. So today, I'll talk about the importance of upskilling in a skills-based economy. So medyo tongue twister, di ba? So hopefully, I'll be able to enlighten you of the need to continuously learn and upskill yourselves in terms of the competency you need to succeed in a skill-based economy. So prior to this talk, Dr. Dave Marshall invited me, and he wanted me to talk about online learning, the importance of it, and the different tools that students can leverage on, especially given the pandemic, wherein we were forced to learn online, right? So when I was thinking of a topic, it's very easy for me working for Microsoft to talk about the different tools that we have, maybe show a quick demonstration. But rather than simply show you the tools, I'd like to share this book that I read. No, so if those of you are familiar with the Golden Circle, it was a concept by Simon Sinek, one of the best-selling authors in the world. He came up with the framework, the Golden Circle, wherein he highlighted that most companies, whenever they're discussing their products, focus on the what, right? What do they sell, the features and benefits of their product, without really highlighting the why. So today, my talk would like to focus on the why. Why is it very important for you as students to actually upskill yourselves with competencies that would set you up for success in the years to come, right? So I'd share my knowledge that I have accumulated over the past few years on which I think are relevant for you to succeed as a student. So following this framework, I'd like to rewind time, go back when I was still back in college. Similar to everyone listening in this call, the students listening in. I do understand you come from various universities across the Philippines, right? And when I was a student, my main priority was really about graduation. How can I earn that much awaited diploma? Finally graduate and be independent, right? But I remember attending one talk similar to this, although it was a face-to-face event, wherein one of the speakers shared an article or a study that was done by, I think, Harvard or Stanford University, wherein they asked the graduating batch on the simple question, where do you see yourselves 5, 10, 20 years from now? And I'd like to take a pause, right? Before I proceed on the explanation, if you have please feel free to think about it, ponder on the thought, and type your answers in the chat box. Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 20 years from now? So the study was conducted again in these key time frames, wherein the researchers asked the graduating batch, where do they see themselves years from now, right? And of the 1,000 students, they all submitted their answers. Um, Regularly, it was checked who amongst those graduates actually did what they planned to do years back, diba? And initially, they couldn't find the correlation, diba? Was grades indeed the determinant on the success of a student, on whether or not nagawa or whether or not he or she was actually able to do what he or she said years back? Until they found out that only 2% out of the thousands of students who submitted their answers, only 2% actually did what they planned to do years back, no? And when they did the analysis, what are the common traits amongst this 2%, the 2%, no? They found out that it's not about the intellectual capacity of the student. It's not about whether smart yung student or comes from a rich family. What they found out that the 2% who actually did what they said years back are whenever they were asked the question, they gave a very detailed answer, right? So most common answers would be, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer. But the 2%, the difference, the added information that the 2% submitted was the level of detail. Like, for example, if you wanted to be a doctor, right? It's not just about making that bold statement, but I wanted to be a cardiologist working at this hospital, earning this much, having a 250 square meter house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So the point that I'm trying to drive at is you're very young and you have huge potential. It's about really understanding what you want in life, right? And being as detailed as possible increases the chances of you actually achieving what you plan to do in the years to come. So that's the nugget of wisdom, right? But the challenge is, I'd like to throw another curveball, no? Is we live in uncertain times. In grad school, there's a concept that has been taught, right? The VUCA. We live in a VUCA world. What does the VUCA stand for? We live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Ibig sabihin is nothing is certain in the years to come. I think the pandemic has highlighted this key fact. Kumbaga, in the past, stable jobs such as the hotel and accommodation industry, the travel industry, very lucrative jobs, right, have been put on a standstill or have faced several financial distress because of the pandemic, right? So this highlights the risk. Regardless of what industry you are in, there's always a risk of uncertainty, of volatility, complexity, and ambiguity. So the point I'm trying to drive us as students listening in, how can you prepare yourself to be resilient enough to succeed in the future regardless of how ambiguous or how whatever disruption happens in the years to come, right? Hence the topic about skills based rather than role based. So over the past few months, when the height of COVID happened, uh, March 2020, around that time, digital transformation, years of digital transformation were compressed into a matter of 2 months. Diba? We've seen a rise of contactless shopping, e-commerce. We've seen a lot of individuals putting up their own small businesses, their e-shops, a lot of fast food delivery chains, curbside pickups, virtual meetings, remote classes, telehealth, consultation with doctors. We're moving to a more technology influenced industry, right? Wherein technology has accelerated growth in industries that are leveraging on those on technology basically, and the more traditional businesses suffering from this technological change, right? So hold on. Ayan. I wanted to highlight a key quote by our uh, respected chief executive officer Satya Nadella. He said the very famous quote: "Our industry does not respect tradition; it only respects innovation." So I think in the technology industry, the one of the fastest growing industries in the world today, this is relevant, right? Kumbaga, there's continuous iteration, development of product to stay up to date and relevant to your customers. And I think the recent pandemic has further emphasized the need for industries to have this kind of mindset wherein you always need to stay up to date on the role of technology in influencing the business climate that you are in and how you can use and leverage these changes to your advantage, right? Um, the key thing I wanted to highlight as well is as students, by the time that you graduate, companies are also shifting. Kumbaga, companies are quickly starting to adapt into this technological world, and they're shifting into looking for more individuals beyond the college degree that you earn. Ibig sabihin is gone are the days wherein companies, reputable companies, are looking for college graduates are of a minimum. What I've seen across the globe is more and more companies are shifting to from beyond titles and designations or from the school where you came from, but more on the competencies, the credibility, and the skills that you have developed over time. Hence, the shift to a more skills-based economy. This is an article about done by the NUS, National University of Singapore, wherein more and more companies are looking for more skills-based, competencies-based, and individuals in their hiring process. Given this insight, it's very important for you as students to set you up for success, right? Kumbaga, it's no longer about simply gaining a college degree, but how can you actually gain the competencies and the relevant skills to set you up for success in the years to come. Show of hands, no? Or chat in the chat box. Who has heard of the world's word skillionaire, right? Whenever I talk to students in general, I ask them about their big, bold, big, hairy, audacious goal and ambition. I hear a lot of answers that is very financially oriented. Kumbaga, they want to be a millionaire, they want to travel the world. But with that goal, with that ambition, also comes um, competence, also comes skills, right? So hence the word skillionaire. It's about acquiring those skills, acquiring those competencies that would set you up for a world or a life of success in the years to come, and money and wealth will actually follow, right? That's what I keep telling students who listen to my talk. It's a skillionaire is a person who is rich in skills, right? Since we talked about skills moving to a skills-based economy, I'd like to also share some market knowledge in terms of what are the different trends in the marketplace that companies are actually looking for, and focusing on the why, right? And whenever I talk to students, it's not simply about adapting, right? Those who always have, those who are ahead of the curve, those who are ahead of their peers, are those who aren't able to quickly adapt, but those who are able to prepare in advance for that change to actually happen, right? Successful individuals don't adapt, they prepare. So rather than wait for that change to happen and adapt, fast forward to then, successful individuals prepare for that opportunity. So when that opportunity comes, they actually are set up for success, right? So when you talk about AI, over the past few years, right, you've seen a lot of new roles like AI professionals, data scientists, digital marketers. If I were to travel back in time 10 years ago and talk to an HR manager looking for these kinds of roles, right? They'd probably wonder and look blankly, have blank faces. What are these roles, diba? Kumbaga, these have not yet been developed 10 years back. But fast forward to today, these are one of the most sought after, in demand jobs in the market in our industry, and as well as the highest paid and most lucrative job titles in our world today, right? The key thing I wanted to highlight is a few trends wherein they say because of the rise of technology, sobrang bilis ng technology, day in and day out, innovation happens. They expect that 65% of the students in grade school will perform jobs that have not yet been invented. What does that mean? Because of the rapid rise of technology, continuous development, continuous innovation, the roles of the future are consistently being changed, 'di ba? Kumbaga, 10 years from now, we do not yet know with full certainty that there will be a role for that, right? Because as we speak, the s- the it's being defined. The roles that are needed in the future is being redefined. 47% of our current jobs are expected to be taken over by machines and automation in the next 2 decades. Later, I'll show you what are the most impacted industries that would heavily feel the impact of these technological automations, right? And the fastest growing industry in our world today is, of course, technology and, of course, healthcare. In IT alone, we expect 65,000 jobs to be created. And the problem is, given the rise of requirements in technology, we've seen a huge gap in terms of what the schools are producing and what the requirements are being posted on job sites like LinkedIn, Indeed.com, on technology literate candidates. And we've seen a huge rise in uh, companies looking for more technological literate candidates. But basically, the key of this slide is our world is constantly changing. We're driven by technology, rapid disruption across various industries. And there's a lot of uncertainty there. So when I talk to students, when I talk to schools, again, it's not about preparing you for the role, a specific role, but what are the skills you need in the years to come to prepare yourself and set you up for success in the years to come. So a study was done by the World Economic Forum because of RPA, automation, robotics. They expect that 800 million jobs will be affected, impacted, either made redundant, replaced completely, or be made obsolete in the next years to come, 2030, if I'm not mistaken. The problem is this here in the Philippines, localizing, putting it into context, we still have a relatively high, actually a high unemployment rate. And this was accelerated by COVID-19, right? We have a 17.7 unemployment rate. Um, meaning we have 7.3 million jobless peoples post COVID-19 pandemic, right? So when you dig down deeper into the study, on face value, you'd think na talagang walang trabaho, 'di ba? Kumbaga, students don't have any, there's a scarcity of jobs available, hence the need to go abroad, work as an OFW, or there's nothing wrong with that. But um, if you were to dig down deeper into the statistics, it's not about the lack of jobs. When you think about it, you look at any job portal, there are a lot of jobs available. The biggest challenge that we've seen, if you dig down deeper, it's the gap between what companies are looking for and what competencies the recent graduates have, right? So I've seen a lot of students end up either unemployed or underemployed. Ibig sabihin, they may work in a totally different industry um, that may not require a college degree, for example, or totally unrelated to the course that they have decided to choose. So again, it's not simply taking this statistic face value, but really understanding in a deeper sense that it's not about simply looking at for jobs, but looking for lucrative job and bridging the skills gap between what the companies are looking for and the skill sets that you have as an individual. So I'd like to highlight again a few statistics, right? Summarizing this slide is a research study was done once again, wherein they asked school leaders, um, alumni heads, and career officers, right? Wherein, do you think your students have the right skills, competencies to succeed and fill the job vacancies in our market? A whopping 98% of school leaders agreed that they felt their students had the right skills, competencies to fill the job requirements posted, the job posting requirements. However, when the same question was asked to business leaders, HR managers, headhunters, only 11% agreed. They felt that the recent graduates didn't have the right skills, right? There was a huge need for upskilling. There was a huge need to retool the skill set, di ba? Upon onboarding, di ba? And this is something that we'd want to help, right? As one of the largest technology companies in the world, we really wanted to bridge the skills gap between what the companies are looking for and what is being taught in schools. Later, I'll show you the how, but it's more of I'll focus on the why. So if you look at this slide, the new source of wages, it's computed by understanding the number of job openings and the average salary. It's based on code.org. If you notice, there's a huge trend and demand for computing. Later, I'll give examples of roles that require computing. But in terms of job availability, in terms of salary available, computing by far um, is the most lucrative and has the highest job source availability. If you look at 2006, there are a lot of banks here, a lot of non-tech companies except for Microsoft, right? Fast forward years to come, a lot of it's dominated by technology companies, the likes of Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, etc. We live in the age of tech, right? When you think about it, technology per se isn't only limited to the technology companies, but technology is applicable regardless of what industry you are in. May you be in the fast moving consumer goods, may you be in the retail industry, may you be in the restaurant industry. Technology always plays a key role in making your company or making you successful in the years to come, right? So, as students, what's relevant, right? What are the job landscapes available in the years to come? Whenever I show these statistics, a lot of students think na, nako, Am I in the right course? Is there a risk that I might be made redundant or replaced through automation? Definitely, there are a lot of industries, a lot of roles that would be impacted in the years to come. By 2 years from now, 2022, they expect that 75 million jobs, kung kanina 800 million the 2030, they expect 75 million jobs to be impacted either through robotics, automation. And if you notice, there are a lot of jobs such as data entry clerks, bookkeeping, accounting, client information services, um, have a huge risk of being replaced or made redundant with technology. But the good thing about this is it also gives rise. Kumbaga, there's because of technology, it gives rise to a new landscape. It gives rise to a lot of emerging um, professions. If we lose 75 million job, it doesn't mean that it's a zero sum game. Kumbaga, it's simply a shift in terms of the industries and the roles being made available. So if we lose 75 million jobs by 2022, there's also an expected of additional 133 million jobs, such as data analysts, data scientists, AI, machine learning specialists, etc., etc. So what are the key insights here? There's a huge decline in terms of jobs that require memory, dexterity, something that can be easily automated through machine learning AI. And there's a huge growing trend in analytical thinking, computational thinking, creativity, things that aren't simply replicated or things that aren't simply or easily made redundant through automation and robots, right? So there's a decline in one aspect, one industry, but that does not mean that it's to complete loss. It's about realigning your skill set on how you can have the right skills, competencies to develop these emerging competencies such as analytical thinking, data science, etc. So, to put into more context, ano ba yung examples ng mga roles, right? So, for example, loan officers, receptionists, information clerks, there's a huge tendency, a 98% chance actually, that this would be fully automated. Like, for example, loan officers, wherein their main role is to do um, background checks, financial credit analysis through machine learning AI. This can be automated, right? Um, However, what's interesting is roles like elementary school teachers, physicians, surgeons, lawyers, roles that require creativity, uh, analytical, computational thinking have a low risk of actually becoming made obsolete. So I think there are some educators listening in, and the good thing about this is there's a low chance of you being replaced by a machine, but that does not mean that you are safe. Kumbaga, it only means that there is your role as an educator would evolve rather than being the primary source of knowledge. Your role transforms to more of a coach, a facilitator on how you can really harness the creativity of students um, to set them up for success. Oh, before I show the video, I'd show you real life examples of how schools are starting to innovate to incorporate technology in their teaching practice, in their learning practice, in their respective institutions. So for those of you listening in, show of hands again, sino dito familiar sa Minecraft, right? It's very popular, especially for the younger audience. Uh, Whenever you talk about Minecraft, na-excite yung younger students, right? I have a younger cousin, he loves playing Minecraft. And little did he know that Minecraft is actually one of the solutions of Microsoft. Yes, it's a game, but through a game, we were able to incorporate an education aspect to it, right? So I'll show you a quick video of how you can use a game in teaching basic fundamental concepts to make learning fun again, right? Through the theory of game based learning. So recently, Microsoft, we held in partnership with Felta Multimedia Inc., we held the first national Minecraft competition nationwide. So what we did is we wanted to focus on sustainable energy and teaching students the importance of sustainable energy with using a concept called game-based learning, right? In the past, whenever you taught sustainable energy, it's simply about reading a book, teaching the concepts of sustainable energy. Because of this, it doesn't resonate much with students. It's very hard for you to grasp a concept if you're simply reading it 2D or on a flat paper, right? So with Minecraft, you're able to teach certain concepts um, more fun, more engaging, and at the same time, more immersive, right? The concept of game based learning is you immerse a student into actually visualizing the impact of those key concepts. So other applications is indirectly you're teaching a student um, concepts such as coding, especially during my time, whenever I was choosing a course in college, it was quite daunting to perhaps pursue a college degree in technology. Kasi when you think about technology, you automatically associate it with ones and zeros. If you weren't a computer geek, it may be quite daunting. Kumbaga, natatakot tayo, di ba? So what Microsoft did is since there's a growing requirement for STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, math, we wanted to um, come up with an innovative way to spark the interest of the youth to pursue careers in technology. And through game-based learning, through drag and drop source codes, blocks, you're slowly exposing these young individuals into key concepts of coding. For example, kids nowadays are exposed to technology at a very young age, right? Hence the term digital natives. Um, so these key concepts, these technologies like Minecraft are recreating, reinventing the way we learn, the way we teach certain concepts, and the way we immerse our students in learning these concepts, right? From coding to one another example of how Minecraft is being used is um if you were to teach chemistry. In the past, during my time, it was simply about the one who got the highest score was the one who had uh quote unquote visual memory, right? Whoever can memorize the periodic table. However, after finishing that course, whenever you were asked the different chemical components, it's very hard to understand the real world application of it. So again, with Minecraft, for example, if you needed to complete a mission, you needed to mix within the game hydrogen and oxygen and identify what are the chemical compounds needed to form that bond, that chemical compound. So again, through technology game-based learning, you're able to explain key concepts and in your head you're able to map out how it is can be applied in the real world. So would you agree data is the new oil? So you've heard this term thrown around a lot of times, right? Data is the new oil, more important than currency. Because if you have data and you have the knowledge to make use of this data, it can propel you to make use of this and actually benefit from analyzing and synthesizing these data. So to explain it in a simpler terms, to make it to highlight a real world example, uh, I know Major League Baseball is not that popular here in the Philippines, but I wanted to highlight the story of Billy Bean. Billy Bean was a former professional Major League Baseball player. He wasn't that successful as a player, but he was most known for becoming he was most known for being part of the back office. He was the general manager of Oakland Athletics. Why is this relevant, no? Dito mas familiar yung actor na si Brad Pitt, right? Billy Bean was the main inspiration of the movie Moneyball, which was portrayed by Brad Pitt. I think this is a great movie that highlights how data analytics can be used in the real world setting. So in the past, Billy Bean was hired as a general manager for the Oakland Athletics. The challenge that was given to him was that they had a very limited budget compared to the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox. How can he create this low budget team and help them move up the rankings and hopefully aspire and achieve championship, right? So he had to be creative given the limited resources that he had. Unlike the other Major League Baseball franchises, they had the budget to hire the number one draft pick or the most awaited superstar, di ba? Given the limited budget, he had to be creative. So he banked on using he had the idea of using data um, to analyze who would be the best players to form a strong Major League Baseball team. So he found out through he worked with another person to actually use sabermetrics, something like that, to use data analytics in selecting potential draft picks. They looked at pitching average, field ins, etc., etc. The different statistics they use to quantify baseball analytics, right? So over time, they noticed that they were onto something. They noticed that they uncovered a lot of non-superstars, but proved to be highly effective in their playing game. Over the time, with the use of data analytics, they were able to scout the right talent at a cheaper price and eventually finally earning a championship. The main reason of the story is the power of data, right? The power of data, of how we can not just collect information, but how can we use these analytics to propel us to success, right? Another thing I wanted to highlight is, given all of the trends and whatnot, you're probably wondering, Pao, this is all good and nice to show me the trends, but to be honest, this isn't relevant because I'm into the business. I'm into art. I may not follow a tech career, right? So if you noticed, listen in start of my presentation, I myself am not a technological individual. Kumbaga, I didn't receive any tech background prior to Microsoft. I took finance, I took business, eventually taking my business from grad school, worked from an FMCG company, nothing related to technology. But I still landed a role in Microsoft. But because of this concept of continuously learning, right? And I'd show you one example of how, regardless of what industry you are in, um, technology will always be relevant in the years to come. So this is one example of how a marketer, a non-technology graduate, has reinvented the role of marketing. Diba? Because if you were to take a traditional marketer and hire him or her to hold your key positions of running campaigns, brand building, etc., the knee-jerk reaction would simply be, you know, out of office ads, digital marketing, posting, etc., etc. Without any technological background, you'd probably focus on the traditional way of marketing your products to customers. The interesting thing about this is a lot of companies have incorporated and required, tech infusion in their marketing strategies. So one example is L'Oreal. I'm sure you heard of the brand, right, or the company. They're very successful because they incorporated and they infused tech in their initiatives. So rather than simply focus on making their items available in store or in an e-commerce platform, they took it a step further, wherein they did the analysis, right? Like what is the customer journey in terms of women when they decide in which lipstick or cosmetic product to buy, right? And women would like to see how the lipstick may perhaps look once they wear it, rather than have to go to the store, try it on. They created Modiface, right? It's an augmented reality app wherein at the palm of your hand, you could go to an e-commerce shop such as Amazon or Lazada or Shopee, right? And turn on the augmented reality feature and actually see using your phone how the lipstick would look from your face, no? So it removes the need for having to go to a store, try it on yourself. So again, the main point I'm trying to drive at is if you don't have that technology understanding, or at least exposed to it, maybe not to the intricacies and the details of it, as long as you understand the core fundamentals of how technology can redefine your role, whether in business, whether in marketing, whether in arts or whatnot, there's always a way that technology is relevant and can propel you um, to differentiate yourself from the competitor, right? So I'd like to highlight a concept called I'd like to highlight rather an analogy, the way I use it, no? So again, show of hands, who here is familiar with the um, company called Enchroma? Enchroma is a company who built a brand by leveraging on, they claim, to be able to solve color blindness. So a lot of people suffer from this, and they created an innovative way on how they can use glasses to solve color blindness, basically. So prior to that, they understood what's the cause of color blindness. So basically, they found out that color blindness is when there's an overlap between I think red and green, if I'm not mistaken, or blue, one of those colors, when it's transmitted to our eyes. So what they did is they created glasses that's able to filter the opacity of certain colors, and eventually uh, eventually resolving color blindness. The reason why I wanted to go with this analogy is because this is similar to having that technological understanding, right? If you are a marketer, if you follow the traditional path of I just need to know my four P's: price, promotion, place, and product, I'd succeed as a marketer. This is the old mindset, and it wouldn't really propel you to advance in your marketing career or whichever career. So having an understanding or an overview of technology, of all of the emerging trends that I mentioned earlier, from data analytics, artificial intelligence, it's like having Enchroma glasses, wherein you view the world, you view strategies, you view tactics in a whole different lens. It gives you an advantage, it gives you an edge over all the other applicants. And again, I think there's a huge opportunity for you to succeed. Nowadays, companies are no longer looking at tenure, no longer looking at the degree that you have, college you from. It's about skills, competencies that you have, right? And we've seen a lot of senior leadership team at a very young age, in their mid 20s, perhaps early 20s, or even before 30s, right? And it's about Ang labanan ngayon sa marketplace, job market, is about having the right skills, competencies, and having that learn it all mindset. So I talked about learning and all, the why, right? The trends and all. Next, you're probably wondering about the how. So like I mentioned earlier, si Microsoft has been an advocate of learning. We've always recognized that education is one of the major industries that we'd want to invest in, spending millions of dollars just to continuously improve our upskilling of students, because at the end of the day, um, innovation in the business industry must go hand in hand, or there must be a parallel investment in education, for the upscaling of these individuals who will eventually work for these companies, no? So we launched free courseware. Kanina it was discussed by the moderators that Mariano Lau Innovation Lab, focuses on free training. So I wanted to highlight that Microsoft uh, can help bridge these gaps on the technology gaps that I mentioned earlier. So we have a free website called Microsoft Learn. You could simply visit it. If you notice, it can be filtered on different products that Microsoft has, or rather, you can focus on the different roles, right? Beginner, advanced, or even tied to a specific role. If you wanted a more business analyst, business user, you can actually receive free training and certification, perhaps. All right. So, again, I wanted to highlight that it's not about having that closed mindset that technology is not a path that I need to understand, uh, but rather how can technology help advance my career, put me ahead of my peers, and help me gain that edge. So, in my parting words, I wanted to highlight a few um, mindsets, right? So earlier I highlighted Microsoft Learn. Feel free to research that. It's free. You can go through all of those learning paths. It can be done via video. There are also hands-on learning there, and it's for free. The best thing, you also earn badges and certificates there. Um, but again, all of the things that I said over the past 45 minutes would be put to waste, right? The stumbling block that I see a lot of students that they encounter, it's really about not the external constraints, meaning the lack of resources, the lack of money. I think the biggest constraint that students have, at least the people that I talk to, is more of their internal belief. Kumbaga, Carol Dweck came up with the wildly bestseller book, what do you call this book? Mindset, right? So she defined it, um, uh, fixed mindset and growth mindset. So there's two schools of thought. A lot of people fall under this fixed mindset wherein they have this internal belief that it's either you're born with talent, you're good at it, or you're not, right? Whenever that they're faced with a roadblock, they instantly give up. Or I'm not blessed, I'm not lucky, I'm not smart enough, right? Often, people who fall under the fixed mindset fail to reach their goals, reach to massive success, as compared to the growth mindset, wherein people who fall under this category are more adaptive. They believe that it's not born, it's rather earned, right? It's not about whether you have the right skills, competencies now, but the power of yet. Kumbaga, I may not know it now, I may not know it yet. And having that mindset to actually, the curiosity mindset, to willing to put in the time, the effort to understand and learn and further develop yourself as an individual. So the question is, which mindset do you fall under? Are you the fixed mindset or the growth mindset? I highly encourage you to rethink the way uh, you plan your career, and the way you listen to your internal beliefs, because having a growth mindset would set you up for success regardless of what industry or job you decide to pursue. And in parting, I'd really like to highlight again a quote by our CEO is, don't aim to be a know-it-all. Whenever you're in business meetings or in group discussions with your peers, ang dami dyan, you hear a lot of students na, alam ko na yan. Yeah, I know it. Don't aim to be a know-it-all, but be a learn-it-all. Be humble enough to understand and accept that you are not the smartest person in the room. You may not know it all, but being humble to listen and understand and learn. Once shifting from being a know-it-all and to a learn-it-all, again you would acquire the right skills, competencies, the skillionaire mindset that would set you up for success in the years to come. I'd like to end with this parting words again for those of you younger there. If you watch Netflix, the Bandersnatch of the famous series Black Mirror, wherein you pick your ending, similar to life, right? It's your learning journey. It's about understanding what are the key trends, what are the skills, competencies you need to succeed, and how can you align yourself to learn these skills and apply it to the careers that you want in the future. With that, maraming salamat. I thank everyone who listened in. Hopefully this um, inspired you to be a learn it all, right? And I'm looking forward to answer all of your questions. For those of you listening in Facebook, feel free to type your questions there, or those in Zoom. Uh, with that, I thank you. Thank you, Silliman University. Thank you, Dr. Mariano Lau, Creation and Innovation Lab, for inviting me. And I turn the floor back over to our moderators for the question and answer segment. Salamat, and off to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Paolo Balinas. So, one thing stood out for me there is about no technology can replace teacher. So, I'm a teacher as well, and I'm glad about that. But we have a lot of upskilling to do as teachers when it comes to technology, right? Especially now in this online distance learning. Okay, so we are now in our open forum part. You may type in your questions in the chat box here in Zoom, or for those who are watching online via Facebook, you can also type in your questions. Okay, before maybe they're still gonna type their question. Um, there is a question also about what kind of skills should workers focus on building to future proof careers? Yes, that's the
Okay,
first question. Yes. I mean the
sige.
second one. Mm.
Yeah, great question, no? So I think what kind of skills, right? So kanina I talked about the decline in skills such that require manual dexterity, um, memory, those skills that are easily automated, yun talagang bababa yun. So what are the skills that are in demand that I advise that you would equip yourself on? It's skills such as analytical thinking, creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving. Skill sets that aren't easily replicated by a machine or through automation. I think these are the skills that would that individuals will need in the years to come. Yung mga soft skills like leadership and all. So it's more of having an understanding on how you can use technology uh, to be more effective at work, right? Yeah. So example of roles, right, are yung mga growing in, yung mga data analyst, data scientists. How can you use data to create valuable insights to have business decisions based on these data. Ayan. Hopefully I was able to answer.
Yes, yes, exactly. Thank you so much. And we have another question here from our Facebook user, from Mr. De La Peña, Lorenzo De La Peña. What will help me develop a competitive advantage outside my job?
Okay. So, great question. Great question. Kasi ngayon, the job market's a very competitive landscape, right? It's about performance, it's about meeting your KPIs and whatnot. But what I've seen over recent times, those who have really embraced the learner's mindset and those who have understood that learning it's not just a 4-year degree, but learning happens as we speak, kumbaga, as we advance in our career. So my advice is perhaps you could also look at how certifications can help you can help propel your career, advance your career. So there are a lot of free courses out there. If you look at Microsoft Learn, there are a lot of free course where we offer that upskill you on emerging technologies, like even how to use data analytics in your job, right? So in short, to gain that competitive advantage, you need to earn the right skill competency, and this can perhaps be done by certifications. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So that is again Microsoft Learn, right?
Correct.
Yes. Good. So, is there any other question? How about from our Zoom participants? You can, if you want to speak, you can click on the raise hand icon. Okay, let's just have this one more question. Can the economic graph tell us about the emerging jobs of the future and what they're going to look like?
Okay. So siguro I can reshare my screen para mas visual, no.
Mm,
I Can you see it?
yes.
Ay, mali, sorry. There's a huge kasi there are a lot of jobs that are impacted, right? The ones that require manual data entry, such as data entry clerks, accounting, bookkeeping, administrative and executive secretaries. These are replaced or has have be seen. We can see in other developed countries to be replaced by either chatbots, to be replaced by accounting software, or software that can project uh, financial performance, for example. And we've seen a decline in these areas, those that require manual dexterity and encoding and whatnot, right? 75 million jobs by 2022, to be exact. But there's also a rise in a new industry such as data analysts, data scientists. So it does not necessarily mean na technical agad yung role kapag data analyst or data scientist, right? Because having an understanding of data, for example, can be applied regardless of what role or job you take. Like in the example I gave kanina, wherein a marketer of L'Oreal, if I had the traditional thinking na marketing is about the four P's, yun at yun lang gagawin ko. But because of the understanding of the core fundamentals of AI, augmented reality, I was able to recreate the customer experience. Wherein, imbis na I just shop online, kumbaga may augmented reality for me to try on the different shades of lipstick through an e-commerce app like Amazon. So ito yung mga roles example. These are examples but not limited to, right? So has a lot to do with data analysts, AI, machine learning, more on skills that require, sorry, More of skills that require critical thinking, analytical thinking, creativity. Yung mamahirap i-replicate ng machine.
Yes.
Ayan. So, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much for that. And if I may add, I've also seen like some marketing ads that are already interactive, right? Marketing
Correct.
ads that are interactive.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, okay. So
So,
we have
mm,
one question here from our Zoom participant. Um, sorry if I mispronounce your name, Jipeng Liu. How does Microsoft evaluate the skills?
okay. So, how does Microsoft evaluate? I think not necessarily Microsoft lang, 'di ba? But coming from the industry, the being a hire being a person who manages people as well, and I'm involved in the hiring process, right? There's a lot of ways to assess whether or not a student actually is knowledgeable on certain key concepts, right? So one is it's an advantage but not a requirement if that person has a certification, right? Kasi often than not, these certifications have assessments to qualify whether or not you're knowledgeable on um, that certain skill. Other ways of doing it is through a business case presentation, because rather than simply look at your resume face value, it's also being able to understand whether talagang you have experience and you're knowledgeable in that certain area. So what I like to do is I'd like to ask for a business case. I give them a problem um, that I ask them to solve and present in a business. They're present in a business case style. So they present the problem, they present the recommended solution, and through this exercise, I'm able to understand the thought process that he or she does in solving a problem. So, yun, certification and perhaps real life examples through a business case. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And we have another question from one of our Zoom participant. This is anonymously. So, as a marketing student, I would just like to ask what are the necessary skills that need to be harnessed aside from knowing how to use technologies to become a successful marketing professional someday?
Okay. So great question, right? So for me, I really consider myself as a marketer. And in the past years back when I was in school, what was being primarily taught is really more of the fundamental concepts of marketing, right? The four P's. I think it evolved now to seven P's. But with technology, it completely evolved, because when you go to the business world, it's not about having the best plan, but it's about having understanding the limited resources that you have, and at the same time, how can you execute your programs efficiently and cost effectively. And one of the main metrics na marketing in the business setting is whether may ROI yan, or return on investment. For every peso spent, anong balik yan sa company, 'di ba? So it's very interesting for you to succeed in the new world, right? It's not about only understanding yung core fundamental concepts, but being able to track whether or not nabalik ba yung investment natin. And with the technology out there available, you're able to easily quantify whether or not every investment made, how much is the return on investment there. So my suggestion is, immerse yourself with data. How can you harness this data to guide business decision making, 'di ba? Yeah. Kasi yung iba diyan parang just to say we create an ad and then we reach a certain amount of eyeballs, okay na. But from a business setting, from my experience, management will always ask, okay, so this is what we did, this campaign that we did. What's the return? What's the ROI dun sa program na yan? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have another question here from one of our Facebook users. in this time of online distance learning, what is your tip or advice so that we can upskill and be prepared considering of the limitations of online learning?
Okay. Actually, yun yung biggest challenge when I agreed to talk today, right? The topic was quite general, online learning. Because when you talk about online learning, it covers a vast array of topics from the tools you use for online learning. But perhaps I'd like to focus on what's relevant to students, no? How can you prepare yourself using online learning? I think the biggest hindi lang na ma-maximize ng a lot of students is the knowledge of what platforms are made available. Diba? Kumbaga like Microsoft Learn, like I mentioned kanina, it's a free resource. A lot of the emerging technologies that I mentioned earlier is available there for free. It's about investing the time, the effort to go through those videos, earn the necessary badges to gain the right competencies and certifications doon. So I'm not just saying na si Microsoft lang ganun, the other companies as well have their own respective online learning courses for free. So it's about understanding first where do you want to be in the next years to come, right? And then understanding ano yung skill sets that you need to be effective in that role, and where are the resources or what are the resources you need to upskill yourself to succeed in those roles. So yeah, so online learning, it's there. Just take the time and effort to research, 'di ba? And ano yung mga online courses available. And I'm sure Silliman University applies naman din yung yung free learning.
Yes. Is there also a something for us teachers there in Microsoft Learn?
Great. So teachers, ang daming portal ni Microsoft no kasi we have a lot of education has always been an advocacy namin. So for teachers, those who want to be more effective in their roles, go to education.microsoft.com. A lot of free resources on how to use technology in the classroom. So just a quick glimpse of what to expect doon. Video siya wherein it teaches you step by step, how to use Microsoft Teams, for example, in your classroom setting, how to create um, engaging PowerPoint presentations, how to create a live event, etc., etc. So education.microsoft.com, teachers can utilize those resources for how tech can be used in the classroom.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much. That's very interesting. Okay, we have I think, a follow-up question from one of our Zoom participant. You said you are a marketer yourself. I would just like to ask some tips. What is more efficient and effective to use when having an integrated marketing campaign, digital marketing, or traditional marketing?
Okay. So I don't think it's choosing one over the other, 'di ba? Kasi there's no one best strategy that I can recommend. It really depends on the business objective that you want to accomplish, 'di ba? Because the problem that I see a lot of marketers encounter is they try to run a campaign without understanding what's the core objective that you want to achieve, right? Is it to grow market share? Is it to grow um, number of pipeline or sales, qualified sales? So having a core understanding of what is your KPI, key performance indicator, what is your business goal and objective? Start from there, understand what you want to achieve, and from there work backwards or re-engineer what would be the best campaign to have the most effective strategy in achieving that KPI. Kasi pag nagsabi ako na, go purely digital marketing, I think this is a common mistake of B2B companies, for example, wherein they have a product that's very business to business oriented, and then their main marketing strategy is via Facebook, for example. Where in fact, is this the right channel to really reach your audience? Kasi Facebook would be more of a consumer play, right? Kumbaga, they uh, buyers aren't there for to buy. They're there to socialize, for example. So maybe it wouldn't be as effective as compared to maybe search engine optimization, wherein people who are looking for an enterprise resource planning solution, they don't go to Facebook to look for that solution. They look for it at a search engine. So again, it depends on the business objective that you'd want to solve. And from there, you need to understand what are the different tactics and strategies for you to help that would propel you to reach that business objective. So again, that's my I know it's vague, but that's a thought process that you need to undergo. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about marketing as well. So I don't think we have any other questions from Zoom and from Facebook. So yes, I guess that's it. So let me just read to you your certificate of recognition. So Silman University and Dr. Mariano Lau Free Computer Education Program presents this certificate of recognition to Paolo Balinas for sharing his valuable knowledge as a guest speaker during the third series of the Dr. Mariano Lau webinar series with the topic about the importance of upskilling in a skill-based economy, which was held on the 28th of November via Zoom online, signed by Dr. Dave E. Marshall, our project leader of Dr. Mariano ICI Laboratory, Silliman University Online, Silman Online University Learning. Thank you so much, Mr. Paolo Balinas.
Thank you. Thank you. Always glad to be here.
And for more announcements, next Saturday we are going to have our fourth series, webinar series on how to get away with plagiarism. Our speaker for that day will be Dr. Sheila Lu Dingkong. So I hope you will be able to join us again via Zoom. That's from 2 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon. Okay, and I hope you can also join the Dr. Mariano Law Education and Emergency Support Fund. The link of this is found in the chat box, the upper portion of the chat box. You can help financially challenged. Sorry, can you go back, May? You can help financially challenged enrolled students, active and retired Silliman University personnel amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and emergent short-term non-interest and non-collateral loan programs. Next, please. And we also have a call for submission for Silman University Dr. Mariano Lau Research and Capstone Development Grant. So the link of this one, again, is found in our chat box here in Zoom. Okay, so before you exit from the webinar, please make sure to click on our post-webinar survey. The survey will also be found under the chat box in Zoom so that you will be able to get your certificate of participation for this afternoon's webinar. Go. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. We'll see you again next Saturday. Thank you again, Sir Paulo. Have a great day.
Thank you, Silliman University. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.